Hey, this is Mark with Exo Mountain Gear. Just wanted to go through what's in my pack for a September archery elk hunt. Just kind of go through the gear and system that I use. It's not always exactly the same, but this is basically what's essential for me with some tweaks here and there. Get the sleep system out of the way just because it's massive and taking up all the space. This is a Katabatic Gear Alsec quilt. It's a 22-degree quilt, downfill. Started using that early this year. Really like it. Keeps me plenty warm. Looking forward to using it more this September. I carry everything in the Exo Mountain Gear 3500. For me, it's kind of the do-it-all pack. Whether I'm taking a day trip, I'll just cinch it down, or I've extended it out up to a week. But basically what I'll do here is talk about like a 4-day hunt. So basically that's our strategy this year, is to move into an area for 3 to 4 days and either be tagged out or know that we need to move to plan B at that point. So that's kind of the strategy with this hunt specifically. So with a 3500, it's perfect for that 4 to 5 day trip. And there's also, some room to go longer if needed, as long as you're packing smart. For shelter, this is the body and fly of a Nemo Hornet 2. This is the pole system, and then stakes, and I use a Polycro super lightweight ground cloth. So 2-person backpacking tent, like most backpacking tents, that's being somewhat generous. You can definitely cram 2 guys in there, but for me it's a great 1-man shelter with plenty of room to move around and store some gear, and it's 2 pounds, so not at all bad for a true double wall tent. It's semi-freestanding and works out really well for a bigger guy like me. The sleeping pad is a Big Agnes AXL, and then these little cords around here is the attachment system for my quilt. So I use that to make sure that I always have these cords with my quilt and my pad, but also just to keep it rolled up nice. Sea to Summit Aeros pillow, it's worth the 2.5, 3 ounces, whatever it is, provides a whole bunch of comfort for me. Water system's all in here. It's a Sawyer Squeeze filter, and then one of the Sawyer Squeeze dirty bags, as well as a very large platypus dirty bag. I like that for 2 reasons. One is, the Sawyer bags have this small fill cap on them, whereas the platypus bag is a big open zipper. So depending on the type of water source I have, one might fill up easier than the other. And then with having 2 dirty bags, I also just expand my capacity to carry dirty water, essentially. Within the pack, I'll run a platypus 3-liter bladder. On the hose, I have the quick disconnect kit, so I never have to take my bladder out of the pack. I just take my mouthpiece off, connect my filter straight into here, and then just filter water into my pack without removing the bladder at any point. And then I typically carry an extra mouthpiece and quick disconnect kit just in case I lose one or it pops off or starts leaking, and I just keep that in the bottom of the water bladder compartment. It's there if I need it. Most of the time I never will, but it's good insurance. For cooking side of things, I have a bunch of stoves, but I come back to the Jetboil quite a bit simply because it's so fuel efficient, quick, and light. So this is a Jetboil Soul TI. Unfortunately, they don't make it anymore. Also carry just a small titanium spoon fork. This is to light my fire. I've had the plastic ones and they break quite often, so the titanium ones held up great. This is a little bit of a luxury item. I think it's 3.5 ounces, but it's a GSI backpacker insulated mug. Just has an insulated sleeve and a really simple plastic mug with a clip-off top and then a drinking spout. I use this for several things. One is with coffee. If I make it in the Jetboil, it's either super hot or it gets really cold fast. So for me, the little bit of luxury of keeping something warm for a bit is nice. And then I'll also mix up a breakfast, which we'll see when I get to food, within this cup as well, and not get my pot dirty. This bag here is a little bit of everything. It's first aid kit, medications, fire starter, bow repair kit, Allen tools, patches for sleeping pads and tents. This is, I think, 7 or 8 ounces with everything in here, but it's kind of a fix-it everything, whether it's your body or gear or bow, it's all in there. Game bags, I just wrap them up, tape them up into a plastic bag. I have tag bags in here as well as some QU bags, just kind of an assortment of things I've picked up over the years. Going with the kill kit, just some paracord, flagging tape, and contractor bags to have as well. And then for the knife, running the Benchmade Altitude lightweight knife there. So that's kind of the kill kit gear. As far as electronics, I have this Dark Energy Poseidon battery backup, so I'll use this to charge my phone, headlamp, anything else that needs it. It's good insurance. There's also a little light built into it, which is nice. For headlamp, I really like the Black Diamond Spot. I've tested a bunch and always keep coming back to this guy for a whole bunch of reasons. The only downside is with one button and a whole bunch of functions, there's a little bit of a learning curve. But once you use it for a while, it's a really great light. Another electronic is the Garmin, the new InReach Mini, so allowing me to stay connected at home or reach out to other guys in the field that I'm hunting with. It's an essential piece of gear. On the safety side of things, also just have a manual compass and whistle. Never needed it, hope I never do, but a couple ounces of insurance. Tags and license, as well as some little notes from home. Always make sure you have that with you. Spare release, I shoot a handheld, so if I happen to lose one, break one, or have any sort of issue, I always have a spare release in my pack. Boring stuff, toothpaste and toothbrush, TP, wet wipes, some more paracord if I need it for any reason. It's also reflective, which is nice for at night. Getting into packed clothing, so I will pack one pair of extra socks, a beanie to wear at night, especially while I'm sleeping, a mid-weight layer from First Light. This is the Kiln 250 Merino layer, and then the First Light Uncompagre. So those are the only extra clothes I pack besides what I wear, unless the conditions demand that I have rain gear. Sometimes I mix up my insulation layer as well, just depending on, if it's hot trip, cold trip, wet trip. I'll make some last minute decisions on clothing, but this is essentially, for most trips, the only clothing that I would pack in. Food system, it changes quite a bit. I can just run through a food bag in general though. This is a meal, I dehydrate my own stuff, so this happens to be some chili mac that I've dehydrated and packaged. A little single size of sriracha to spice things up with the dinner. This is some Cajun trail mix. Wheat thins, which I will pair with a Justin's almond butter for a good meal. Honey stinger, Heather's Choice Packaroons, RX bar, Starbucks Via for coffee, a Cliff protein bar, and then I pack my own little concoction, sometimes for breakfast or sometimes it's a midday thing, but it's basically just oats, dehydrated fruit, and some whey protein powder. Mix it up either with hot water or just cold water, either way. It's pretty tasty, and that's another reason I use this little mug. So that's kind of an example day of food. There's an item or two missing from that, but in general, I'm somewhere between 3,500 to 4,000 calories and try to keep it at or under 2 pounds a day. So if I'm doing a 4-day trip, I could have up to 8 pounds of food, on top of the gear here. So what I'm wearing in is Piranha Stretch Zion pants. I absolutely love those, wear those all the time. A lightweight merino layer from First Light, often one of their lightest weights, Arrow wool tops. I like the quarter zip as well, just because you can ventilate even more from there. So those are pretty much worn non-stop, and then I'll just layer on top of those pieces. I also always wear the First Light gaiters over my boots. Super helpful just to keep debris and moisture out of the boots. In terms of boots, the Salomon Quest 4Ds are something I've been wearing for years and really like. This year I'll also be testing the La Sportiva Trangos. So back and forth, I'm actually looking forward to running both of these in real world scenarios this fall. I've tested these a lot, they're good. They're stiffer than the Salomons, but not too heavy, not too stiff. Just an option I wanted to explore. So I'm actually gonna run both of those this year at different times. Then other gear is essentially just carried in. Trekking poles, these are the new backcountry poles from SNS Archery. Incredibly light carbon poles, comfortable foam grips, nice nylon straps. I first saw these over a year ago when Steve started testing with prototypes. I got a chance to run them on the Death Hike this year as well. They're certainly proven to me. Looking forward to running them on some heavy hunts this fall. And then just other things worn or carried in is going to be binoculars. I'm not too picky. For elk hunting, I don't rely on glass a ton, simply because where we hunt it's pretty thick, but something like a 10x42, 8x42 in that ballpark. And then just rangefinder which is an old Nikon that I've had forever, wind check, calls, bugle tube. So with all that, I'm pretty much set for an elk hunt. So this is the base level of gear. As I mentioned, food is obviously the one thing that's going to change. I can get it all loaded up. We'll put a scale on it and see what that base weight is without, food, water, and fuel. Those are really the only things missing. All right, so here's everything kind of crudely loaded up really quick. Basically, again, this is everything but food, water, fuel. We'll see what it comes out on the scale. And looking at something like a 4-day trip, I'm adding 8 pounds of food or something like that. So this should be right around 18 pounds, or with food, getting me right there at 26 pounds for a 4-day trip.